What up, man? You ready to film?
And as long as I got my suit and tie, I'ma leave it all on the floor tonight. And you got fixed up to the nines. Let me show you a few things. All dressed up in black and white, and you're dressed in that dress I like.
How's it going, everybody? I'm glad you guys made it out to small groups tonight. I hope you guys have had a good time so far, and I'm sure you're gonna have a good time after this. But hey, we wanted to get to the lesson tonight, and tonight we're talking about a suit and tie. So what I want to do right out of the gate is I want you guys to pause this video, and I want you guys to talk about the reason why you dress up for formal events like a wedding or a Sweet 16 or prom or a christening or dedication, anything like that. What is the reason that you dress up for? Because I'm sure most of you bums dress up into nice clothes, try to dress like Jordan Walker does. So what is the reason for dressing up? Why do people do it? Why is it so important? Well, hopefully you guys came up with some good reasons why you dress up for things. And tonight we're actually going to talk about a story that Jesus talks about in one of his parables about a wedding and the crazy things that happen at this wedding. And we're going to talk about what it means. But what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to pause this video right now, and I want you guys as a group to read through this story together. It's in Matthew chapter 22, and it's verses 1 through 14. So I want you to read through it, and I really want you to pay attention verses 11 through 14, okay? The last few verses of what you're going to read. I want you to pay attention. And after you guys read this story, Matthew 22, 1 through 14, I want you guys as a group to try to figure out what this story means. I want you to try to explain what Jesus is trying to get across from this story. So pause this video, read it, and talk about it. Well, hopefully you guys had some good discussion about what you think this story means, but we're going to talk right now about what it really means, and hopefully you guys were right. So we read about this wedding that Jesus is talking about, and really what this is an analogy to eternity someday, going into heaven. And Jesus talks about how some people will accept the invitation, some people won't, that everyone's invited, good people and bad people. And he talks about the people that didn't accept the invitation and didn't come to the wedding ultimately die, right? They're doomed to death. Just like if we don't receive Christ and if we don't go to heaven, then where are we doomed to? To hell, right? Where we have eternal damnation, but through Christ we can access heaven, right? Through the invitation that God sent us through his son dying on the cross for us, we are invited to the wedding feast. Now, it starts to get really interesting. This is really what I want to talk about in verse 11, where it says that the king came in and that he saw a man who had no wedding garments. And this may seem a little harsh for you when you think, so he just walked in, the king walked in, and he saw this guy who wasn't dressed right, and he just kicked him out, and it was just over like that. But you got to understand the context of what Jesus is talking about and what they believed in that day. Now, like most of you guys probably talked about in the beginning of this lesson, when you go to a wedding, when you go to something nice, you're expected to dress nice, right? You're expected to dress for the occasion. And it was just like that in Bible times too. And what you need to understand is in the context of when Jesus was talking about this, in this day and age, the king was responsible for supplying wedding garments for the guests that were invited. So what you need to understand about this is it wasn't a question of maybe the guy was poor or homeless and he had no nice clothes. The king was responsible for giving all of his guests and supplying all of the guests that were invited with acceptable wedding garments. Now, this man obviously chose not to wear those garments, and he showed up at the feast not dressed in those garments, and that's why the king is enraged, and that's why the king kicks him out. Now, we see that is really, that's how they handle things in the old times, but even more than that, in Ezekiel, it talks about how God clothes us, the unworthy, in beautiful garments of righteousness. Now, really, what I want to focus on this story, and this is short tonight, but it's big, is that everything that you need to live a life worthy of the calling that you have received, everything that God wants you to be is right at your feet. You have everything that you need to live the way that God wants you to live. Okay? He's already done all the hard work for you. He's already made the big sacrifice for you. You have everything that you need to start walking in the plan that God has for your life. But so many of us think that we're just going to get to heaven after we've just wasted our time and after we've just done our own thing and just be accepted. And you're going to get there, and he's going to say, look at you. You haven't even put on the worthiness and the righteousness that I bought for you, that I provided for you, that I gave you when I sent my son to die on the cross, and you chose not to put it on. So what I want you to think tonight is, are you walking around in the righteousness, in the purity that God won for you? Or are you walking around in street clothes? Are you walking around bumming it all the time in sweatpants? I'm not talking about physical, I'm talking about figuratively. Are you bumming it in sweatpants, just doing your own thing, being lazy, not getting off the couch, just doing whatever you want to do, and right there in your bed is the garments for the wedding, for eternity that Christ has won for you, that Christ has provided for you, and you've just chosen not to put them on. You've chosen not to show up in eternity with what God has already won and bought and provided for you. Now, I want to ask you something. I want you to think about something really quick. If you love someone so much, say you had a sibling or a relative, or maybe it was just a best friend, and you loved so much and they were poor and they had nothing, and you just felt like you wanted to buy them something really nice. You wanted to buy them a sick, pimpin' outfit, but you had no money, so you went and you sold everything that you had. You sold your clothes, you sold your computer, your whatever. You just sold everything that you had, everything that you owned. You just gave up in order to buy them something really, really, really nice, just to show them how much you love them and you care about them, and just your heart for them. And you go out, you sell all that, and then you buy it, and you come and you bring it to them, and you lay it down, and you're like, oh man, I bought this just for you. And you're expecting the next day to show up at school and see them wearing the outfit, and you see them at school and they're just in their regular old clothes. And you say, well, why didn't you wear what I bought for you? Why didn't you wear what I got you? And they say, I didn't have time this morning to get dressed in it. Or I was just feeling lazy. I didn't want to wake up early and get ready and look all nice. Or and they started to just give you every excuse in the book. How would that make you feel? And I want to encourage you tonight, man, that God has won so much for us. And I'm speaking to myself. And so many times I'm lazy. So many times I don't feel like it, or I just come up with any excuse in the book of why I'm not walking in the garments that I should be, why I'm not walking in the way that I should be, why I'm not the person that I should be, because God died on the cross and God made it available to me to be the person He's called me to be. And so many times for just any excuse, I just show up, or I just go to things and I just don't live the way that I'm supposed to. I don't walk the way I should. And I can think of every excuse in the book. But I want to encourage you tonight, man, to suit up, to put on your suit and tie, man, to put on that which Christ has already won for you, man, to walk around in grace and humility and peace and joy and patience, man, to clothe yourselves in what God has won for you, the person that He has made acceptable for you to be. And when you do that, when you walk around wearing Christ, man, people see that. You gain opportunities to share the love of God with people. Your life is changed, it's radically different, and you start to accomplish that which Christ set before you. And when you show up one day at the wedding feast, man, you're going to be accepted. So I want you guys to just end this video like this. I want you guys, if you want to discuss anything, if you don't understand anything, if you want to ask each other questions about what we just talked about, that's cool. But I want you guys to end in prayer as a group. And I think it'd be cool if you guys circled up, and maybe if you just went around the circle, and if you guys just want to pray for each other, and that you guys would just suit up and you would start walking in what Christ has won for you. That you wouldn't be lazy, that you wouldn't be complacent, that you wouldn't get comfortable, but that you would really just walk in what Christ has already won for you. So circle up, pray, and you guys can have a good rest of the night. I'll see you guys next week.